Good evening. Master John Madden in my hotel room in Acamal, Mexico, the Riviera Maya. It's kind of late. It's after 11 o'clock, and I was in bed trying to sleep, but having an imaginary conversation with a friend who I just in a note described myself as non-monogamous. And I was picturing her saying, "Ooh, do you really think that's a good path, is to be non-monogamous?" Because there's a lot of suspicion about that path in our Western societies. So rather than try to shut those thoughts up, I know that's my muse talking, saying, "Teach this. Turn on the video and talk about this." So I'm going to do that. Non-monogamy, loving lots of people. Now, some people would say, "Oh, that means you're not going to commit." That means that's what people say when they're not ready to commit. No, I am ready to commit in so many ways. My background is psychology. I was a therapist, but I did peer counseling for a long time. And Harvey Jackins, who created reevaluation counseling, peer counseling, used to teach us to say, "I will go through the fires of hell with you. I will go to your deepest, darkest places that you're afraid nobody else would want to look at and you're terrified to look at. I'll go there with you. I'll be that person." Yeah, I'll commit that. I'll commit long term. I'm planted now, finally, after 4.5 years of travel. I'm committed to Akamal. I think I'm going to stay here the rest of my life. So I'm ready to commit long term. What I'm not willing to commit to is to limiting how much I love other women. I can't. I can't. I am so busting with love. To me, it's part of my spiritual path. The more open I get to other people, the more full of love I become, the less and less sense it makes for me to say that I'm going to try to control how much I love any new person who comes along. When I think back to previous relationships in my life, I've had a lot of wonderful, wonderful relationships with women. The two that were most troubled were the ones where we defined ourselves as serious. One was a 10-year marriage, and one was one where we came within a month of getting married. And in each of those relationships, it never occurred to us that non-monogamy could be a path, that we could have other partners. And I think each of those two women would not have been capable of that. It would have filtered them out, which would have saved both of us a lot of heartache, because we end up, when you assume, as Western society mostly assumes, that monogamy is the gold standard for partners, then you end up hammering the other person, beating them around the head and shoulders, trying to make them be everything you need from a partner. There's a classic book called "I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change." It's classic, because if this one person is supposed to meet all your needs emotionally, sexually, that's a tall order. That's a tall order. I think it makes a lot more sense to say, I get this from you, I get that from that person. I'm not going to try to make you give me everything I need. The other relationships I had earlier in my life that were really wonderful, in none of them did we call it an open relationship, and in none of them did we have other partners. But for one reason or another, we knew from the start that we were not meant to be long-term partners, that this person did not have to be that knight in shining armor, that perfect, the one, that the romantic fantasy that gets fed us in so many ways. I think monogamous partnerships are totally valid, and for some people, they actually are a spiritual path. They're perfect. But for an awful lot of people, they're not. back in the US especially, I see so many monogamous partnerships that are tired, stale. It's classic in the US that after a certain number of years, you don't expect to be having sex anymore. You get bored. My wife and I got married as virgins, and we knew nothing. We knew nothing about sex. We knew nothing about how to have a relationship. And we were trying to make it all up rather than learning from every new partner more of what it means to be intimate. Good. That's a 6-minute rant. And I got still inside, which said, oh, there's lots more to be said. I've already made a bunch of videos about non-monogamy, and I'll make more. But I don't need to say more now. Maybe now I'll sleep.